Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be repairing some HDMI ports on a TV board. You can see the model number here, and you can see that the pins have been broken off. There's one port that's pretty damaged, but the other port, we can have a look at it. The very first thing that you want to do is put some clear solder flux on it, and then I'm just using a fine point soldering iron and heating up each of those pads and pins to get the contact. And you can see all the different traces there just using a scope. I've also put a link to my scope in the description if you're interested in getting one of these scopes. You can do this without a scope, but it is quite hard to see if the pins are all connected, as each of those traces is probably less than a millimeter. So what I'm doing now is just using a little sharp tool just to bend some of the pins, because when it broke off, they're not quite straight. So you want to make sure that they're straight just using a sharp object. And then just heating up each of the pads and making sure that there's a contact. If there's ever a join between two pins, what you can do is either use solder wick to wick up the solder, or just increase the temperature of your hot iron, and then you can put it on the both pins and swipe down, and hopefully that will remove the short between the two pins. And then after, just double check all the pins, just pushing gently, just making sure that none of the pins are moving. That means that they have a contact with the pads. Just a note that you don't want to make your soldering iron too hot, because if your heat is too much, it can actually make the pads separate from the printed circuit board. To make sure that this doesn't happen again, you also need to solder on the legs of the HDMI port so that it's well secured to the printed circuit board. Doing the left and the right hand side as well. Just making sure that in this case you can increase the temperature of your soldering iron, because you want the solder to flow through the via of this leg. And also on the bottom you can see the vias where this connects to the HDMI port, just heating that up so that if it connects to the leg again. I also used some super glue on the top, because sometimes the solder doesn't do the job. You need to have something else to secure it on. And so I use some super glue on the top of the board as well to secure it, because when you're plugging your HDMI cables in, sometimes it can loosen those connections. Hope this video was helpful. Please hit the like button and subscribe.